Welcome to CSEC Mathematics with Mr. Charles. Today we are looking at inverse proportion. Now, inverse proportionality exists when you have a situation where one quantity, for instance, is doubled and the other quantity to which that quantity is compared is halved. Okay, so in other words, we say one quantity changes by the reciprocal ratio or the inverse ratio of the other quantity. So example, if two men weed a compound in 6 days, right, then 4 men working at the same rate would weed the same compound in 3 days. Okay, so they would take less time to weed the compound. So it's different from direct variation in that direct variation, for example, if you want to bake a cake, let's say you use 400 grams of raisins to bake one black cake. Now to bake 2 black cake, you would need more raisins, right? So that's direct proportionality. So as the amount of raisins increase, the amount of cake you get would also increase, provided all other ingredients increase as well. Now in inverse proportionality, for example, as the number of men to weed the compound increase, the time taken to weed the compound would decrease. Okay, so some things follow inverse variation or inverse proportion, while others follow direct proportion. But in this video, we're going to look at inverse proportion. Okay, now we have a question here. It says two bicycle gear wheels mesh together. One gear has 35 teeth and the other gear has 30 teeth. If the smaller wheel makes 70 revolutions per minute, how many revolutions per minute does the larger wheel make? Before we go ahead and solve the question, we have to make an assumption, okay? And our assumption would be to assume or let x be equal to the speed for the larger wheel. And the reason why I said speed is because the question asks us, if the smaller wheel makes 70 revolutions per minute, how many revolutions per minute does the larger wheel make? And revolution per minute is the measurement or the unit for speed. So 70 revolutions per minute is the speed for the smaller wheel. So the larger wheel, we have to find how many revolutions per minute, or we have to find the speed for the larger wheel. So we're gonna let the speed for the larger wheel, which is unknown, be equal to x. Now after doing that, we're gonna use a formula, and I have already written it out here. The speed for the larger wheel, we're gonna put that in the numerator because that is what we want to find. We're gonna put it in the numerator on the left, as a matter of fact, because that is what we want to find. So the speed for the larger wheel divided by the speed for the smaller wheel equals the number of teeth in gear for the smaller wheel. Notice I have the number of teeth in the gear for the smaller wheel in the numerator because the speed for the smaller wheel is in the denominator on the left. It must be an inverse relationship. So if the smaller wheel is in the denominator on the left, it must be in the numerator on the right because it has to be the reciprocal. You have to flip it. And the speed for the larger wheel is in the numerator on the left, so it has to be in the denominator on the right. So inverse relationship. So let's go ahead and use that formula to solve the question. We know that the speed for the larger wheel is x. So we say x over the speed for the smaller wheel. If the smaller wheel makes 70 revolutions per minute, right? So the speed for the smaller wheel is 70 revolutions per minute. So 70. So x over 70 equals the number of teeth in gear for the smaller wheel. The smaller wheel has 30 over the larger wheel has 35. So that's 30 over 35. And then we're gonna cross multiply. So we're gonna say x times 35 equals 70 times 30. X times 35 equals 70 times 30. And x times 35 is 35x. And that's equal to 70 times 30. 7 3s 21. And you have 2 zeros, so that's 2100. We want to find x. 35, x is the same as 35 multiplied by x equals 2100 or 2100. So we're going to divide by 35 because because division is the opposite of multiplication. So divide by 35 here, and since this is an equation, whatever we do to the left we have to do it to the right to make sure it balances. It's like a scale, so divide by 35 here as well. The 35 would cancel off each other on the left, and we will be left with x. So x would be equal to 2100 or 2100 divided by 35, and 35 can actually go into 2100. 35 into 35 is 1. 35 into 210 is 6, and 35 into 0 is 0. So 35 into 2100 is 60. The larger wheel would make 60 revolutions per minute. Question 2 says, if 12 men can sew 180 shirts in 5 days, how long will it take 15 men to sew the 180 shirts? Okay, so the task is to sew 180 shirts. 12 men take 5 days. 15 men, we want to know how many days they would take. So the formula we would use, okay, is on the side here. So time taken by 15 men in days divided by time taken by 12 men in days equals 12 men over 15 men. So if it's 15, if the ratio is 15 to 12 here, on the right the ratio have to be 12 to 15 because it's an inverse proportion. So let's carry this equation over. Now that we've bring it over, the time taken by 15 men, we're gonna let that equal to x. So we're gonna put x over the time taken by 12 men. Well, the question tells us 12 men can sew the 180 shirts in 5 days. So 12 men, right, we're gonna put 5 here because 12 men take 5 days, and that's equal to 12 men over 15 men, and these two here would cancel off, and then we can cross multiply. So we say x times 15 is equal to 5 times 12, and we all know 5 times 12 is 60, but what's x times 15? X times 15 is 15x. So 15x equals 60. So if 15x or 15 times x equals 60, then we could divide by 15 on both sides and get what x is, right? Because the 15 would cancel each other off here and we would be left with x, right? Which is 60 divided by 15, right? And 60 divided by 15 is equal to 4. Because 15 4 is 60, right? So 4 days. Okay, so 15 men would take 4 days to sew the 180 shirts. Number 3 says 12 men produce 700 watches in 9 working days. How long will it take 18 men to produce 700 watches? So the formula we have here is time taken by 18 men in days divided by time taken by 12 men in days equals 12 men over 18 men. The time taken by 18 men is what we do not know, so we're gonna let that equal to, let's use a different letter here. Let's use m, right, over the time taken by 12 men is 9 working days, and that equal to 12 over 18. So then we can cross multiply. M times 18 equals 9 times 12, and m times 18 is equal to 18m, and that's equal to 9 times 12. 9 12s are 108. So 18m equals 108. We can divide both sides by 18. The 18s will cancel each other off, and we'll be left with m equals 108 divided by 18. Well, 9 into 18 is 2, right? 9 into 108 is 12, and then we can say 2 into 2 is 1, 2 into 12 is 6. M is equal to 6 working days, and that's our answer there. Let's move to question number 4. A field of grass feed 36 cows for 4 days. How many days would the same field feed 20 cows? The days for 20 cows divided by the days for 36 cows equals 36 over 20. 36 cows over 20 cows. Okay, so the days for 20 cows, so 20 cows take how many days to feed? That is what we want to find out, so we would let that equal to x. So x over the days for 36 cows. So 36 cows took 4 days to feed on the field of grass, so x over 4 equals 36, right? Because cows would cancel cows, so 36 over 20. Good. And after setting down that, or after substituting there, we have to cross multiply. 20 times x, right? 20 times x, so you can say x times 20 doesn't matter. Multiplication is commutative, order does not matter. And you make that equal to the 4 times the 36, okay, equals 4 times 36, or 36 times 4. As I said, order does not matter. So 20 times x is 20x, so that's 20x, equals 4 times 36, okay, 4 times 36, that's 144. Okay, so we can divide by 20 on both sides. 20 would cancel off 20 on the left and we would be left with x. So it follows that x equals 144 divided by 20. Let's cancel off. 4 into 20 is 5. 4 into 14 is 3, because 4 3 is 12, remainder 2. And 4 into 24 is 6. So we get 36 over 5. Converting that into a mixed number, 5 into 36 is 7. 7, remainder 1, because 7 5 is 35. So 1 more to make 36. So 7 and 1 over 5, or 7 and 1/5. Okay, 7 and 1/5 days it would take 20 cows to feed on the field of grass. It says here, a contractor decides that he can build a barn in 8 weeks using 5 men. If he employs 3 more men, how long will the job take? Assume that all the men work at the same rate. So we know that originally he had 5 men, right? 5 men originally. And then he hired 3 more men. That would give us 8 men now. So we know that 5 men would take 8 weeks. So we want to know how many weeks would 8 men take. The formula we're going to use is weeks taken for 8 men, because that's what we want to find, divided by the weeks for 5 men. Right, divided by the weeks for 5 men, and then we're gonna make that equal to the reciprocal. So we have 8 over 5 here, so on the right hand side we have to have 5 men over 8 men, because it's an inverse proportionality relationship, or inverse proportion relationship. So then it follows that b over the weeks taken for 5 men take 8 weeks, so b over 8 equals 5 over 8. Good, and then we cross multiply, so we say b times 8 equals 8 times 5, and b times 8 is 8b, which is equal to 8 times 5, which is 40. So 8b equals 40, right? And if 8b equals 40, we can divide both sides by 8 to get b, okay, because 8 would cancel off and we have to divide by 8 on both sides. So b equals 40 divided by 8, which is 5. So if 5 men take 8 weeks, then 8 men would take 5 weeks to build the barn, and that's the answer there. So that's all the question in this video, all the questions in this video. Thank you very much for being a part of my audience. It has been a pleasure. Do enjoy.